My name's Jyll Bradley and this is my piece Green Light for MR. You're seeing the piece at a really good time of day because the sun is in the west and it's setting, so there's lots of reflections coming across. The concept of the piece came about through my childhood, which was in Kent. I grew up in Kent and I was actually born in Folkestone, so it makes this really special to work in the Triennial. And almost within a nanosecond of Lewis Biggs, the curator, showing me the site, I just had this vision of a hop garden on the site. And for people that aren't from Kent or Herefordshire, hop gardens are probably something a bit strange, but they are, for Kentish people, they're a really familiar sight in the countryside. They're these extraordinary, they're almost like the kind of Stonehenge of Kent. You see these beautiful fields full of standing poles that kind of come and sort of come toward you, it seems, when you walk toward them. And hop gardens were created obviously to grow hops, which make beer. And there's something very beautiful about the simplicity and the geometry of the garden that I was really attracted to, and also the methods by which they use string to attract light to the plants. So over several centuries, this extraordinary sort of simple but really wonderful technology has arisen in terms of growing the plants. But I didn't want to make some kind of nostalgic hop garden homage. I wanted to, in a way, sort of take the opportunity to sort of fuse that with who I am today. And today I'm a very urban person. So I've kind of fused my childhood emotional landscape, if you like, with something that's very contemporary to me, which is these aluminium poles with luminous plexiglass. And what binds everything together is the string going through the space. And the string is sort of like, I see the whole piece as, it's almost like a big self-portrait in a way of past and present coming together, but it's also like a giant drawing that sort of lifts your eye into the sky. The other really amazing thing about this site is that it's been abandoned for about 20 years or longer. And it used to be the old gasworks in Folkestone, and it was actually the site where electricity and electric light was first generated for the town, so it's quite symbolic. And so I wanted to kind of honour that, and that's why I've created this circular sense with the aggregate and with the poles, the interior poles, so you get this sense of the footprint of what was here before. It's a really ambitious piece. I've never built anything before, and so it's you know, it's an extraordinary thing to be doing. It's very personal. It feels really like a really important piece to me. So I think what was really challenging was to get the connection between old and new, and to have a kind of juxtaposition, but also for the things to be in sympathy with each other. And oddly enough, I think it actually works really well. I'm really delighted with how this strange, you know, very fibrous natural material actually does seem to have a very strong connection with the very contemporary plexi, and they sort of play off of each other. The sort of geometry of the stringing is really interesting, because this is how they used to string the plants in order to get maximum amounts of light. And so you get these extraordinary, it's sort of like marching. You can see that the string's sort of like marching backwards and forwards across the space. And when you do the stringing, which I learned, that was part of the process of making the piece, you have this really long pole, and you're basically, this huge long pole, and you're basically kind of doing crochet from the ground 16 feet in the air, and then you're literally drawing through space. It's just incredible to take string up and across, and then down and up and across and down, and you feel that you're working with volume. And I do a lot of drawing in my studio using a photocopier actually, which is sort of a combination between drawing and photography. And this was extraordinary because it's a similar thing of using volumes of light and going through space with line in a very, very real, hands-on fashion. And so it was a hugely satisfying process. It's meant to be immersive. I'd be really happy to see people walking in here and sitting in here. I'd love to get a string orchestra in here actually. I think that would be really good. One of the other things that I wanted to achieve with the piece actually was this idea of squaring the circle, which is a kind of alchemical idea of trying to unite heaven and earth. It's a sort of alchemist's dream to try and fit a circle in a square. And believe you me, it was amazingly difficult with this piece. But there's a sort of symbolism there about bringing different aspects of yourself together into one place. And so that felt very important to me, as this idea of bringing something that was very important in childhood into play with something, the part of me that's very much of myself now as an adult. So that idea of squaring the circle and squaring the self was really important in making the piece.